Hey, what's going on, guys? Needs more drums back in an old gem of a game, SimCity4. We are back in the second episode of our little mini series here, just giving the game a second look 20 years later, seeing if it still holds up. And so far, it's been really fun. So today's episode, we're already right into a time lapse right now, just because I feel like this is a pretty, efficient way to do these episodes. And I gotta say, this episode was kind of not what I expected. So this one actually, we focus a lot. My building was constantly being interrupted by a lot of the management aspects of the game. So that's one thing that I do remember being kind of fun about this game was how simple it was to really oversee the details of your city, the management details, the finances, the budget, different like overlays like traffic flow and crime and demand and desirability, and you'll see like all these kind of pop up here and there throughout the episode. But yeah, we do a lot of like tweaking some of the budgets since the population is growing. Budgets for things like medical facilities and schools obviously need a little bit more funding to handle more patients or students or whatever. So we get interrupted by the angry advisors that are yelling at me and telling me to increase the funding. So you'll see a lot of that popping up. But one thing that we also struggle with in this episode is actually jobs. We don't, we've been developing the residential zones a lot in this little city, but we haven't really, we don't really have a huge industrial park. I mean, we have this little area kind of off to the right that you just see right now, but it's, it's nothing special. I mean, sometimes you really need a pretty heavy industrial presence to provide a lot of jobs for people, and we're still kind of getting there. So we actually get into a point in the episode where we start to struggle with job placement. And yeah, you can see it right there, just our power plant. We were experiencing some rolling blackouts, and so we had to increase our power budget for the time being. But yeah, there's a very, very heavy industrial demand. Not a huge demand for residential. It's still positive, but overall it's not super strong. And not a big commercial demand either, actually. So I've been waiting to save some of these open spaces. You can see like right here around this intersection that I'm filling in now. But I've been saving that in areas kind of like that along the main roads for commercial zones specifically. But we just haven't had the demand yet. So I'm hesitant to fill those zones until we really have the demand for them. But yeah, here, I was starting to realize that, man, there was just two roads, really bringing all the traffic into the industry, and you just see like all the cars driving on there. And I figured I might as well give it a look. And sure enough, this was there was a ridiculous amount of traffic congestion in this area. So I thought it would be pretty smart to go ahead and extend out our avenue to this point. And then since you can't really make like a roundabout in the vanilla version of SimCity4, I thought I'd make this kind of weird square about with a one-way road that connects to a regular road, because you can't, I didn't want to drag that avenue all the way through. We have those power lines in the way. I didn't want to delete those. I didn't want to delete, some of the existing industry that is there along the smaller road. But hopefully this roundabout and this extended avenue will give a little bit better traffic flow for this area. Also, a little bit later, we actually extend out a couple of more roads just to give people alternative routes, because that's one thing with city design that is important is, if you have all of your commuters and all of your traffic just having to funnel into one network, into one road, one avenue, you're obviously going to have a ton of congestion issues. So it's important to give your citizens a variety of options when it comes to, driving and getting where they need to go. Obviously, we don't have any public transport in this city. I don't really think I'm going to put any in here for the time being, at least, because it's just not that big. It's one of the I'm kind of keeping this a little bit more of a lower density city. I may add some buses in the future just around like the city center and stuff, but we have that passenger train station that is used more for inner city connectivity purposes. We don't really have much transport within the city, and like I said, I don't really expect to add much right now, but we'll see if that changes if the city starts to grow significantly. But here we're just filling out some of this more dense area. This is kind of like the city center, and we have those parks over there, those soccer fields and things, and I want to make that a little bit more of a medium density zone and a medium density area, with some apartments and that. And so this is kind of where I always struggled in this game to find a place, since you can't really respect the topography in this game. There's no contour lines or anything, and you're restricted a lot to like 90-degree and 45-degree angles, so there's not a lot of room to really follow terrain anyway. So I kind of always struggled with figuring out where to end the city. And right here is, I figured, this would be a nice place to kind of put in some little cul-de-sacs, some little suburbs, just to, signify that this is kind of the end of the development. And, we'll see in the future if we develop the tile next to this and it starts getting really, really dense. Maybe we can replace these with some grids so that, when you look at the region view, it looks like the city is constantly, it's like one continuous development. But for the time being, I just wanted to do this so that when you look at this map by itself, it looks like, the city actually is kind of coming to an end here after these train tracks. Plus the terrain gets pretty mountainous, not really mountainous, but, a little bit difficult to work with. So I rather would build on flatter terrain anyway. So I figured, I'll put some trees down and make this kind of the end to the city. But yeah, so we have this big area here, and I've been really enjoying using some of these farms in this game. And it's so easy. You just drag them out and they develop and they look good, and they provide jobs, and not to mention they're realistic. I mean, on the outskirts of some of these smaller cities, obviously, well, not some, but most, if not all, of these smaller cities, you're going to have a pretty dominant agricultural presence. And so this is definitely no exception. And we're trying to fill in these spaces with some farmland to make it look like these areas are actually being used for something. And we'll build a couple more, but again, we won't go crazy by developing some of this mountainous terrain. We're going to build some farms on flat land and things. But yep, this is what I was talking about again. I'm getting notifications that teachers are going on strike here because the funding is too low, and I need to go and fix that. And it only takes a couple seconds, but it's something that I look at the beginning and then I kind of forget about. And so those annoying city worker people, advisors, are always hounding me about my budgets and everything. And so I wait for them to tell me that I'm doing a bad job, but it's fine, no worries. So here, just filling out some more industry. I'm just trying to put a dent in this industrial demand without just dragging out like a massive industrial park grid, because I always feel like that's a little bit unrealistic. I mean, cities do have industrial parks and things. I know Chicago does, and there are a lot of areas that have pretty largely industrial sectors and stuff, where there's dedicated amounts of industry. But it also makes sense sometimes to throw your industry in with some other types of development. Like if you have a forest and you throw a couple industrial buildings in there, or you have a lot of very sparse residential, you might even throw an industrial building kind of in between some of those areas where there's not going to be a heavy population pollution, but still access to industry. So here I was struggling with where to put the city hall. I wanted to put it in an area that we've already kind of developed. I thought about there, but it was a little bit too off the beaten path, I felt. So I decided to put it here. And I know I had to de-zone some of those homes and businesses, but for the sake of making everything look good and the sake of development, I decided to just go forward with putting it right here because I felt like that was a good place to put it. It's a busy area and a pretty populated city center. So now here, just dragging out the landfill again. Needed keep an eye on that, but again, I got that guy to tell me that I'm doing a bad job, so just wait for him to pop up on the screen, and we'll deal with that later. But yeah, you started to see just over there when the camera panned over to the town that we were starting to experience some of those job issues. We're experiencing some unemployment, and people are having trouble finding places to work. And so I'm trying to fill that out by making that industrial park, expanding that industrial park in the agriculture. I want to expand this one a little bit. And I even was, start trying to look to see if there's an area that we can create a new industrial park. Something a little bit smaller, nothing, crazy huge or anything like that, but just enough to put a dent in some of this demand. And I have a feeling that, either in the next episode or one of the future episodes, we're going to have to create a pretty heavily industrial city in order to make in order to get rid of some of this demand, because it is so prominent. And plus, with our intercity train connections across the region, we'll be able to have people travel to work, so we don't have to rely on everybody just driving and super long commute times and things like that. So something to consider in the future. But for now, I'm just trying to upgrade some of the roads here and upgrade these industrial parks a little bit to alleviate some of the demand and to create some jobs for our citizens, especially since our commercial demand is pretty low. But one thing that we needed to do now is actually build another power plant. So our one little natural gas power plant was kind of at its limit. So, we decided to put down a second one and fill in the gaps with some industry, as you see here. And now hopefully our power situation, at least for the time being, should be pretty resolved, and we can, come back to that a little bit later. But yeah, here's what I was talking about with the agricultural zones, just dragging them kind of up the hillside ever so slightly. I don't want them, go too far up the hill, because that's actually a pretty significant height difference, and you typically wouldn't see farms at those heights. So just trying to keep it a little bit realistic. So I felt like this was an area where we could start to develop a little bit more industry. So we start by dragging out just a couple farms and then kind of creating a little freight train station again, so that, you figure they would try to send goods to the industrial areas and, in between the industrial areas as well. So you already have that freight train station down in the other corner in the other industrial area. So now we have an area for that, another station for that train line to connect to, although there is no route management in this game or anything like that. You would imagine that the game still simulates goods being transported and things like that. So I would hope that this facilitates some connection within the city, but at the very least, goods from outside of the city will be able to be transported into this little industrial park in this corner, as well as to the one in the other corner. So trying to just do our best to make everything really connected, really functional. That's my theme in City Skylines, and that's my theme in SimCity as well. I wanna really focus on functionality and connectivity and things like that. Making all these cities kind of work together, how they and function in a way that they would function in real life. So always a fun goal to have, and it's what keeps these building games exciting. So we're just about to get done with our little industrial park here. And I think after this, we're going to jump into a little bit of a live play and just kind of take a look at what we've built, talk about some of the future plans for the city. I'm just getting spammed with so many of these notifications from people. I actually have to build another clinic now, and then these guys want a university. I'm like, we don't have any place to put a university in this city, so I'm just going to leave that for now. Maybe, we could really grow this city to be quite dense, given the area of the map. The size of the map and everything, but I just don't want to. I'm trying to limit this right here. So enjoy the kind of end of this episode, just a little brief cinematic, a little bit more building, and then we're going to jump into a live play. All right, here we go. You can see that we've developed quite a bit of this city so far. It's actually not looking too bad in my opinion. I'm liking the way that the city center is turning out. We have some medium density buildings around here. I do need to rezone some of this commercial to be medium density as well. We actually have some mansions popping up, which I didn't really plan on, but it doesn't look, too bad. And it's a good sign that people are actually, wealthy and are able to have good jobs in the city. Well, at least for most of them. We have some that are still struggling a little bit with the whole job situation, as you can see here. But we're going to go and figure that out in later episodes, and we can expand this industrial area a little bit more as well. This area is pretty saturated with industry. I don't really want to do any more expansion here, but if we have to, then I guess we will. I mean, we still have this small area here, and then, maybe we can drag this road out and have this sort of be like a nice border for our industry area. But we'll, cross that bridge a little bit later. But yeah, overall, I like the way these farms are turning out. I like how we're kind of building just into the hillside ever so slightly. I don't want to make this too populated. And then, I hope to drag this road kind of out to connect to this. And we can, zone up some more residential and maybe a little bit more industry here even if we need to, or even farms. But this is the main avenue that I want to, this may end up getting dragged through here as well, but we'll see about that. I might do a little bit of one of those one-way, kind of makeshift roundabout things here. But it does look like there's quite a bit of traffic at the moment. So we'll come back to this a little bit later and look at our overflow, or our overview of the traffic flow is what I meant to say. But for now, I want to actually step outside of the city and go check out the first city in the region that we built before this episode. And actually before the first episode, when I realized that my footage wasn't recording. So I just want to give you a brief city tour of that city and then we'll wrap up. So let's go ahead and jump over there. All right, and welcome to our first little development here, which is a pretty much just an agricultural town. The city's name is Good Old Days because it reminds me of the good old days. And here we go already with the freaking notifications, man, I swear. And this perpetual training mission too. I don't really want to do this right now. It just keeps popping up. So anyway, we'll ignore that for now. But yeah, this was the first city that we built. We just have a little bit, tiny main road coming through, just some cross streets, actually quite a few farms. I wanted this to be mainly agricultural. And we have some wind turbines here in the middle of the field, which I actually think is kind of a cool idea. I saw this on like a picture, somebody posted a screenshot of SimCity4 and kind of did this, and I was like, you know what, that's actually, I never thought of that before, and it's something that you see all the time, just these wind farms in the middle of regular farms. So I know there's one about an hour south of where I used to live. So very, very cool. I like that a lot. I'm going to do that, in the future as well in these heavily agricultural areas. And yeah, same thing, we got this train line running through. No passenger station yet, don't believe. Yeah, so that was one thing that I wanted to come back and add in this city, was a passenger train station, since we don't have one yet. But we do have a freight station right here by this little bit of industry. We don't have a ton of industry in this city. We have this little industrial park here, and then just this one over here. So nothing crazy in terms of manufacturing and dirty industry. I wanted to keep this mainly rural and agricultural. And again, we just have a lot of just a small town feel, kind of a little strip of commercial along the main road, a little bit of housing and some suburban development. Again, we are getting some mansions in here, which is pretty interesting. Didn't really expect that, but it's fine. But one thing I do want to do is actually change. Don't really know why this zone is like this. We're actually going to go ahead and change to some 2x2s, or 3x2, I guess, instead of the 6 wide or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we'll leave that for now. But yeah, this is kind of how this is turning out. I'm actually quite liking this little development. Pretty nice. Always nice to give a quaint small town feel. We'll also oh no, I guess the patient capacity went down. School's good. High school's good. Perfect. Water tower's good. Yep, things are still running pretty smoothly over here. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it an episode for today. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one, but this game is fun to just kind of jump into a quick time lapse, do a little bit of an overview, and then just kind of wrap it up. So nothing too crazy going on. And I'll see you guys in the next one, where we will build probably another tile. We'll get into a new development and kind of expand our region, since that last city that we just saw also is in a pretty good state for now. So yeah, hope you guys all have a great week, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace out.